South China Morning Post, 17 October 2023, How India's covert plan to oust Chinese companies could backfire. China will try other ways to enter the Indian market, and until Aksai Chin is returned, all Chinese imports must pay the China Occupation Tax, COTS. It's a widely held belief that conducting business in China presents challenges for Western companies. But operating in India is considerably more challenging for businesses, particularly for aggressive and cunning Chinese companies. 4 executives of Vivo, a Chinese smartphone manufacturer, were detained in India at the beginning of October in a money laundering probe. Among them was a Chinese national. These arrests exacerbated the legal issues facing several Chinese phone manufacturers in India. The Chinese mobile phone companies Vivo and Xiaomi, present in India, were charged in 2022 with tax evasion under the 2005 Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Even though the Chinese companies refuted the accusations, Beijing and New Delhi are becoming more tense on various topics, from border disputes to India's growing scrutiny of Chinese investment and businesses. India is hesitant to welcome Chinese business officially. Chinese company Vivo opened its plant in Uttar Pradesh to make mobile phones, capitalizing on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Made in India campaign 2014. Vivo is now the second largest smartphone brand in India, behind Samsung, thanks to this highly successful strategy. Beneath the official narrative, Modi is working to strengthen and safeguard the country's manufacturing sectors to replicate China's successful expansion of export markets. India must lessen its reliance on China to do this, as well as build up its own domestic end-to-end supply chain solutions, from component manufacturing to final assembly. India's government creates instruments to make it difficult or impossible for Chinese companies to operate in India. India has prohibited hundreds of Chinese espionage apps, including TikTok, and Chinese telecom equipment manufacturers, including Huawei and ZTE, under the pretext of national security. India has also employed tariffs to deter imports. In 2018, the government levied a 20% tax on imported devices to undo the Chinese competitors' destruction of Indian mobile phone assembly. 2020 saw a tripling of duties to 60% on toys imported, most of which are from China. India's toy imports have decreased by 75% since 2019, when the import duties rose to 70% in 2023. India is adept at using bureaucratic friction to criticize out-of-favor companies and put pressure on Chinese companies doing business there. For example, it is well known that Indian tax laws are complicated, and it is considered nearly challenging to follow them completely. The company that owns Vivo, BBK Electronics, was charged in August with avoiding paying more than $280 million in customs duties. Additionally, BYD's Indian subsidiary is being investigated for allegedly underpaying $9 million in taxes on imported parts. BYD is a Chinese automaker. Finally, in 2020, the Indian government revised its policy regarding foreign direct investment, FDI, requiring foreign companies to get government clearance for FDI coming from nations that border India on land. Although FDI from several non-Chinese countries, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, and Afghanistan, may be impacted by this revised rule, China seems to be the intended recipient. Less than 25% of the 435 proposals for investment from China that India has approved since the implementation of this revised FDI policy. For example, Great Wall Motor, the most prominent sport utility vehicle manufacturer in China, stated its intention to leave India in July 2022 following 2 years of unsuccessful attempts to secure $1 billion in FDI approvals from India. India has become adept at using these strategies to keep Chinese businesses out of the nation. China is losing market share to India as it uses policy to undermine China's dominance in manufacturing. To be more precise, India launched the Production-Linked Incentive (PLI) program in 2020 to offer businesses rewards for selling goods produced in the country. The program has grown to be a $24 billion initiative focusing on 13 industries, many of which are controlled by Chinese businesses, such as communications equipment, electronics systems, and automotive components. The PLI program can assist in raising the standard of Indian goods, encourage exports, increase economic growth, and employ more Indians. It can also help close the trade deficit. On the other hand, this initiative puts more financial strain on the government. Furthermore, it can lead to rent-seeking and lobbying as specific industries gain preferential treatment over others, distorting the market and creating inefficiencies. It is unclear what the PLI scheme will ultimately accomplish. Meanwhile, this calculated strategy can save India and help its manufacturing sector expand by reducing Chinese imports and discouraging Chinese companies from establishing manufacturing facilities in India. For instance, when Apple announced in June that it would be moving 18% of its global iPhone production from China to India, India rejoiced. The central government also has an unstated policy of forbidding the construction of any new facilities that Chinese corporations own. Despite having signed a 2021 deal with the state, Luxshare Precision Industry, a major Chinese device supplier to Apple, has experienced a significant delay in opening its facility in Tamil Nadu as a result of this. In July, Luxshare was selected as Apple's exclusive supplier of mixed reality headsets, known as Vision Pros. It will be difficult for India to persuade big brands to make their products there unless there is an immediate plan to develop domestic production of all major pieces of Apple products. To detach themselves from China, it is straightforward for Western companies to produce in India. Since no one wants to conduct business with China,